everyone, welcome back to my channel, Bow and Arrow Tarot. Today we are going to get right into the 2020 outlook, general outlook for the sign of Leo. Alright, Leos, you're up next. And we're going to go ahead and just do a simplified Celtic spread for you, right? And then we'll do some clarifiers and pull out an animal spirit and an oracle card. Now, this is going to be a reading for a particular situation out there, right? So we know it's not going to be for all Leos. These readings do tend to get quite specific, but there will be things perhaps that you can still take away. Even if the entire reading doesn't really resonate with your total situation, there may be aspects of it that give you clarity or provide you with some reassurance. So in any case, December is really going to be a great month of a lot of unexpected changes for a lot of people. There will be blessings coming in for a lot of us who have been working towards them, but there's also going to be a lot of upheaval and change, right? And it's going to really set us up for 2020. So let's just see what Leo has to look forward to. Straight out, we have the Hanged Man at the center, covered with your card. This is you showing up in your reading right away. We have a Ten of Swords. And we have the Devil. You come into the year with a Two of Wands, and you round out your year with the Hierophant. So we have a predominance of major arcana right away. At the bottom of the deck, we have a Seven of Wands. All right, so Leo, wow. It's going to be a big year of changes for you, I'm going to say for sure. But we're going to pull some more clarifiers and get right into it. Let me just talk about this Seven of Wands first, because this is really giving me an idea of your year. Seven is, of course, the number for dreams and aspirations. And with Seven of Wands, we find ourselves really fighting for them, right? There are a lot of obstacles. There are a lot of different problems that have come along the way. And Wands being a card of creativity, right? Being an instrument of creativity, you're having to find a lot of creative solutions. This is not a swords card. It is not fighting with people, right? As you would with a sword. It is being creative, right? And so in a lot of ways, I think for you, Leo, the overall year will be you really sort of working towards your dreams and coming up with ways, creative ways along your path to overcome any obstacles. But we're going to get back into that. Let me just get right into your reading. Of course, Leo, this is very powerful, you showing up as a cross energy in your own reading. Of course, 8 is the card for strength, but it is the card that is associated with Leo energy for the tarot. And we have the Hanged Man. Now, Hanged Man is your center card. And really, Hanged Man, I'm going to take a moment with this because Hanged Man is one of the cards that is very sort of misinterpreted in a lot of ways. A lot of times people see Hanged Man and they say, oh, you're stuck, right? Let me be clear. The Hanged Man is never stuck. The Hanged Man chooses to remain in a certain position because he simply is not inspired. First of all, the Hanged Man, when he shows up in a reading, he shows up at a point in our lives when we have come awake, when we have awakened and we have realized that we've been in a certain stage or in a certain period of our lives where we just haven't done the best that we could. We haven't put our best foot forward. But it's the realization of that the Hanged Man represents, which is why he is always shown with a halo of enlightenment around his head. It's waking up to realizing how you have impacted your lack of progress, okay? Being stuck, oftentimes when people say, Hanged Man, you're stuck, it implies that you're stuck because you can't get out. The Hanged Man could absolutely come down off of this T-square anytime he chooses to. If you really look at the way he's hanging there, he's not even really putting any effort into hanging there. He's there by one foot. He has his hands behind his back. It's been basically a malaise that he has been in, right? It's this feeling of, I don't feel like it. And this comes from, again, a lack of inspiration. And oftentimes this can be, and so this is why it is translated as being stuck, because from the outside looking in, when somebody is in sort of in this phase of their lives, right? We looking in, we oftentimes say, well, why won't they just get out of it? Why won't they just put a little bit more effort in? You know, why would they choose to be in at this sort of level in their lives when they have so much more potential? Because oftentimes the hanged man, when you're in this position, you're in this position because it's easy for you. And a lot of times if you're not inspired, you can allow yourself to sort of just languish in a particular path or a particular stage in your life where you're not really getting the most out of life, but you're also just not having to put anything in. Sometimes this can just be a fear of failure, a fear of trying, trying harder and it failing, so why bother, right? This is a real fear that a lot of us have at some point in our lives had to deal with, right? This is not just a thing for Leo. All of us have had to go through that in our lives at some point. But oftentimes what happens though, the hanged man comes in to show us, usually when the hanged man comes in, what has happened, Leo, is that yes, you may have been in sort of a malaise. You may have been sort of languishing in a particular stage or environment of your life, just kind of punching the clock, not really putting a lot of effort into a particular path in your life, right? But suddenly something happens. You see someone or you come across an event or there is there's some kind of occurrence in your life that wakes you up. And you wake up to the fact that, hang on a second, I could be doing so much more, and I want to do more. Up until that stage, when we are in this sort of hangman energy, we just don't feel like putting more in, for whatever reason. It's just a lack of desire to push forward. But once that inspiration comes in, whatever this occurrence is comes in, it makes you want to wake up and move forward. And this is what is happening for you this year, Leo. For those of you who are resonating with this particular reading, what has happened is that something has woken you up to how you've been living. And I think you wake up right away because you have your strength card coming in. So 8 major arcana is Leo. It is associated with strength. And with strength, what are we talking about? We are talking about learning how strong we are, right? Really beginning to learn and appreciate our strengths. And in this way, a lot of times it's about learning when we have put ourselves in situations that draw on that strength, when we have taken on too much. An example would be, for instance, when you take on a lot of responsibilities, perhaps, right? Or a lot of energy from other people. Say you have a lot of friends and they're all kind of coming to you, right? Everybody wants to sort of talk to you about their difficulties, right? And before you know, you're feeling yourself very, very drained. You know what I mean? People are always kind of overstepping their bounds and trying to get more from you than you really have to give at that time or are willing to give, and yet you give it anyway, and it becomes a bit too much. You realize for yourself that you need to put boundaries in place. You realize, you say to yourself, strength is saying to yourself, you know what? I can't handle this. This is too much for me. This is not good for me. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put some boundaries in place, and I'm going to start to stock up my strength again, right? Trying not to be all things to all people, which is a form of sort of ego, right? It's a form of ego and pride. This is also associated with the strength card in a sense of understanding where your limits are, right? And appreciating those limits in a sense, right? This is also why we see the figure here sort of taming the beast, because the beast is associated with pride and ego. It's associated with, haste, anger, lust in a lot of ways. This card is called lust in the Thoth deck, right? And these are sort of our baser emotions that a lot of times will drive us to be in situations that aren't good for us, that ultimately sap our true strength. And so the essence of the strength card is understanding these things and working to a higher level of strength and putting boundaries in place, because 8 is also the number for boundaries and borders. So it's putting boundaries in place with those who seek to sort of who seek to sort of overwhelm you. Putting boundaries in place with areas in your life where you are being honest and saying to yourself, you know what, I can't be this person's solution. I can't be this person's sort of, I can't fix this, right? And the only thing that's happening here is that I'm being overwhelmed and my energy is being drawn from me, right? This is all of what is associated with strength. And through this process, you begin to find out exactly how strong you truly are, because you're a lot more realistic about the things that you take on. And so you maintain your strength, and now you're really vibrating higher, and you're working better in your life. There is now power and strength available for the things in your life, rather than having it constantly being sifted away, slowly poured away to all these other sort of people and vessels and responsibilities that don't actually feed anything back into you. They just kind of draw from your strength, and they kind of sap your energy. So all of this is what you're learning this year. And so I think what you're realizing is that a lot of the reason why you were in a place where you were feeling sort of like uninspired to do much was because you were probably being pulled in a lot of different directions, and you probably had a lot of people crossing boundaries with you in that sense, right? Just expecting too much from you, and you've probably been very drained. And so because you've been drained, you may have felt like, well, what can I do? There's nothing I can do. I don't have the energy. And to a certain degree, that is true. If you don't have the energy, what can you do? But then what you need to do is work on getting your energy back, right? And so how do you get your energy back? You begin to put boundaries in place with people. You begin to tell certain individuals that, no, your energy is not the type of energy that I need right now. And this is how we build strength. This is how we build our internal strength. Now, the energy that you've come into this year with is a 10 of Swords, and conscious and unconscious is the devil. So I think for a lot of you, you were dealing with addiction or codependency, or someone who had an addiction or codependency or some kind of really toxic energy, right? 10 of Swords is in your conscience, and this is it. You're done. 10 of Swords has been showing up everywhere. 10 of Swords and 10 of Wands has been showing up everywhere for the 2020 Outlook readings. And it's just an indication that 2020 is going to be a period for a lot of people who are leaving certain toxic stages of their lives behind. Absolutely leaving it behind. One of the blessings that are coming in for a lot of people in December is the blessing of wisdom, the blessing of healing. These are blessings also. Blessings are not only just money and career and love. Being able to heal is a blessing. Being able to learn from your experience and gain wisdom, and gain the kind of wisdom that gives you the strength to actually make good decisions going forward is a blessing. And your blessing this year, Leo, is that you are absolutely done with this stage in your life. This person laying there represents the old ego, and it's dead. You've gone through so much. 10 of Swords talks about going through so much and having been knocked down and having your ego being stabbed so many different times, and you having to get up and sort of dust yourself off, that at some point you decide enough is enough, and you're not the same person anymore. You said it's the death of who you were, and you come to a completion in the sense that you take back control, and you realize you've had enough suffering. You've learned everything you needed to learn, and you take this really intentional step to go forward from this stage, and this really difficult stage in your life is now over. Sometimes it can just be a stage in your life that comes to a completion in the sense that, you may have been dealing with poverty for a long time, or a joblessness, right? Or a difficulty with an ex and children, and a divorce and custody. All of these things are things that stab our ego and hurt our heart, right? And it could just be that this is the end of it. For some reason, it's now over. You've come to an agreement, or the children are now older, or what have you. So sometimes it's an intentional decision to come out of suffering, or sometimes it's just a natural ending to a stage in your life where you no longer have to go through a particular type of suffering. In either case, the result is the same. You're not the same person anymore. And the new ego that comes out of this scenario, that comes out of this sort of tying off of the stage, generally comes out as smaller. You have a smaller ego, and the smaller your ego gets, the less it can be harmed. The new person, the new Leo, can't even be harmed by these type of swords anymore, because you've been there. This is a lesson in wisdom as well and experience. This is also a way of finding strength. This is another way that we find strength when we go through difficult situations and we feel the pain of it. We feel the pain, we experience the pain, we experience the loss or the grief. We experience all of that which is associated with it. And then we experience the blow to our ego, and then we heal from it. And then the next time, this can't hurt us in the same way again. And this is how we grow. And this is how our ego becomes smaller, because the smaller and smaller the ego is, the bigger the spirit becomes. And the spirit is always much stronger, much more sort of in line with who we are, and much more self-confident. Now, this is the end of the stage, but in the back of your mind, you have the devil, and the devil is associated with addictions and codependency. It's associated with creative energy that has been stifled or stagnated and that is now turned inward in a very negative way. Right? And so in this way, I think for some of you are absolutely dealing with an environment where you are around people who are very codependent. There perhaps were addictions involved. You may have been addicted, but you've now come out of that space, right? And a lot of the reason why you were stuck was because of this environment, but this year you come out of it so strongly. And I think for a lot of you, you come out of it because of your faith. This is absolutely somebody who found faith this year, found spirituality, and has brought you out of a place where you were not yourself. This is a huge healing moment. I'm going to say this is absolutely for some of you who have had drug and alcohol addictions. You may have had some kind of mental health issues that you have come out of and that you have healed from. This is very, very, significant healing on an emotional and mental level for Leo this year, coming absolutely into your own. And certainly for some of you, with the Hierophant being there, it is sort of your spiritual sort of center or your spiritual calling that has helped you to pull out of this. You come into the year with a Two of Wands and you are absolutely passionate and raring to go. Two of Wands is Mars and Aries energy, so you can imagine this is like you want to get out in the world and spread your wings. I don't even know what else to say, Leo. This is absolutely for someone out there who has been gone and done. Yet, in the back of your mind, the devil is still there. And I'm going to say for some of you Leos, it could very well be that you still worry a little bit about the pull of this negative energy. But you come out of that. This is natural. Leo, it's natural, especially if you've been dealing with toxic people or in a toxic environment. And what I'm talking about is, I'm talking about if you've been you're living in a family situation where everybody in the family is addicted. Everybody in the family is dysfunctional. Or if you've been living in a situation where, there's issues with finances and you've been forced to live in a neighborhood where there's nothing but drugs everywhere or alcohol stores everywhere. And you've really, you know what I mean? I'm talking about an environment around you that has impacted you. And then, of course, once you're in that loop, in that addictive loop, that's very much hangman energy. Of course, you can get out of it, but it feels as though you're stuck, right? But oftentimes the way to get out of this is to be inspired, right? I mean, if you've ever talked to someone who has had a long term of addiction, right? Most of the time, people who come out of that, you know what they tell you? They become tired. They become tired of their addiction. It's not because of family or, nobody can make you stop. We all know, I would hope that by now we all know that people don't stop their addictions or just dysfunctional behavior because somebody else has inspired them to. It has to truly be your own choice. And oftentimes, there's two reasons why. One reason is that something has come into your life that has inspired you on such a great level that inspiration and that desire to follow that pulls you or gives you the strength to pull out of the addiction, or simply you are in an addiction for such a long time that you've become tired of it. And you've absolutely become sick and tired of the addiction. And again, there's nothing else that you want but to come out of it. This is oftentimes the reasons why people come out, and people have, and inspiration is what can lead you into rehab, or it can lead you into counseling or what have you, right? It's the inspiration that comes in for your life that you truly want something better. When you truly want something better for your life, that is also another... that when that happens, that window, right? It is a window of opportunity oftentimes. I say it's like a train. You know, oftentimes people who are dealing with things like this, right? Addictions or codependent relationships or dysfunctionality in families, they feel like they can't get out. Oftentimes it's like a train that comes by every now and again. You don't know when the train's going to come by. There's no schedule. You don't know how long it's going to be between trains, and you don't know how long that train is going to stay at the station when it arrives. But when it arrives, there is the small window of opportunity, and if you don't get on that train, you'll have to wait until the next one, and you never know when the next one comes. This is the nature of when you're trying to get out of addiction. You can want to get out of addiction as much as you want, but until everything sort of coalesces in the perfect opportunity, right? Exactly at the right time, and exactly at the time when you are truly feeling that momentary burst of confidence that you want something better for your life. Everything has to line up perfectly, and then it's that window of opportunity that oftentimes either you take it or you miss it, and then you have to wait again. And sometimes the next opportunity for all of that to be sort of in alignment can be years, it can be months, you know, it can be decades, right? So this is what I'm talking about for a lot of you in this sense. You know, it's like this window of opportunity this year is like has come in for you, and it's a wide window, and it's staying throughout the entire year because your inspiration for wanting a better life has come in for you, Leo. Let's pull some clarifiers and see how much deeper we can possibly go into this. And then we'll pull out your animal spirit and your oracle for the year. There's death, the full transformation and change. There's your Queen of Wands. You have Seven of Swords, another 7 card, and there's your 2 of Cups. So it could very well be a love connection that helps you come out of this. Just ignore my cat. She's like going nuts in the background. All right, we have the moon at the bottom of the deck. So, Leo, a lot of you, this is a very emotional year for you, and it's a testing year. Moon is a period of testing. Right? Oftentimes when the moon comes up, we talk about not knowing, things being hidden, right? But truly, the true essence of the moon card is a period of testing. Because this is also the second 8. Remember, the first 8 we see here with strength. And with the strength card, as I said before, we are finding our strengths, and we are learning how to work to our strengths. We're learning how to protect ourselves so that we can maintain our strength. Here we are tested. Here our strength is tested, right? It's the next 8. It's the next stage. It's the next evolution. When you look at the tarot cards, you know, like for instance, here we have the 2 5s. The first 5 is the Hierophant, which is utter sort of commitment, right? Which is why I say commitment to spirituality, which is why I say it's the spiritual calling that is helping you come out of this, right? But here, with the Devil card, our commitment is tested. Do you see what I'm saying? And the Devil card is the 15. This is the first 5. This is the second 5. Here, we have the second 8. In the first 8, we establish our strength. We find our strengths. In the second 8, 18, our strength is tested. And the test is, can you handle it without having all the information? Are you too afraid to use everything that you've learned with the 8 major arcana strength card? Are you too afraid to actually use it now? Or, you know, now that you know what your strengths are, now that you know who you are you prepared to go through the valley of darkness, which may be scary because it's not telling you everything. You don't know everything that's going to happen. You're going to be going down a dark path that's only lit by the moon, where things look different. You may see different sides of yourself. You may be surprised by emotions that come up. But are you strong enough that you can do it? This is the essence of the moon card, and this is why it's called a testing phase. This is why we have the Anubis, right? They guard the path through the valley of death. Near through the valley of death, right? I go, I shall fear no man, right? It's this, you know, this is what we're talking about. It is the test. And what happens when you go through this valley, when you go through this testing period, this testing phase in your life? The next card is the sun. You come out in the sun. All right, and you come out strong and confident and realizing that there was nothing to fear but literally fear itself. This is the nature of the moon card, and this is the nature of its sort of part in the path with tarot. So this is what you're learning. This year is going to be a testing period for you. Very strong for you to have the 8 and 18, 5 and 15 coming in. This is going to be a huge year of testing. Now let's get right into your clarifiers. Death has come in because absolute change in all levels. Leo, remember what they say when you're coming out of addictions, you're coming out of dysfunctional relationships, people, places, and things. Everything must change. Okay, people, places, and things. You can no longer, and this is what death brings with it. This is the death card in the Thoth deck, 13. And people, places, and things, and we know what that means, right? That means that you can no longer be around the people that encourage this sort of addiction and this stage in your life, if it was addiction, or the people that you've been having these dysfunctional relationships with. It's all part of the same thing. Whether some of you may be saying, well, I don't have an addiction, but it could be a very highly dysfunctional relationship that you're in that still causes the same type of negative trauma, right? So here we're talking about getting away from those people, getting away from places, right? Getting away from the environment. So your environment is going to change, and things, right? Getting away from things that are triggers or things that are not good for you, extreme behaviors, right? All of this, people, places, and things must change for you to change your life. And so you absolutely do come to the end of this stage, and death comes in a very beautiful way. Death is always, death comes in and you can't stop it. Although it doesn't talk about a physical death, it does talk about an absolute change in all levels of your life that is unstoppable. In the back of your mind, you have the devil again, where you're wondering, I think for a lot of you, you're thinking, will I succumb? Will I be strong enough, right? Remember, this is the test of your faith and commitment to our higher self. Will I be strong enough? And who shows up? Of course, the Queen of Wands shows up, because whenever we are tested, the Queen of Wands is the one we want to answer to that call. She is the strongest part of ourselves. She is the one who can face baptism by fire, and she comes out of the other side radiant and transformed. She has the confidence, she has the wisdom, and she has the passion to continue to follow her path, despite the hurdles and obstacles in her way. Very, very strong, very confident, very fiery, Leo. Very fire energy coming in. You have absolutely everything you need. You will not succumb. You will come out of this in a very, very good way. Now, 7 of Swords comes in over that 2 of Wands. So the beginning of the year, you are raring to go with that 2 of Wands. But 7 Swords talks about futility. And futility comes in when you're being hasty. So take care in the beginning of the year, Leo, that you are not too hasty. Some of you may be feeling this newfound sort of confidence to come out of this sort of very negative space you've been in. And oftentimes what happens is that we're raring to go, but, we're going too fast. We're being too hasty. Don't be too hasty. Take your time. Because haste makes waste, and if you don't take your time, and if you're not intentional about all of the moves you make in the beginning of the year, some of this is going to turn out to be very futile for you, okay? And more than anything, 7 of Swords it's another 7 card, right? So again, we're talking about our dreams and aspirations again. But with 7 of Swords, this is an energy sometimes that our dreams and aspirations, we want them so badly that we're not willing to sort of take the long road. We're being just very, very hasty about it. This is the story of the tortoise and the hare, right? And the hare is constantly trying to cut corners to win, and he never wins. It's always a futile effort. So please take care in the beginning of the year that you really are careful, that you don't get caught up in this sort of sense of freedom. Oftentimes when Hanged Man energy comes in, it comes in very strong in the sense, remember I told you, the Hanged Man comes in when you have woken up. So you've woken up now. This means you are now awake. And oftentimes when we wake up from a period in our lives where we have really just allowed ourselves to be in a deep fog or sleep, a malaise as it were, we are ready to go right away because we want to make up for lost time. Just be very careful. And you have a beautiful 2 of Cups coming in, and I'm going to say for some of you it's going to be a beautiful love interest that helps you through this. It's going to be a year of healing and testing for you, but this is going to lead to a beautiful love connection. And of course, what is everything? The one thing that we need to get over the darker sides of our life and ourselves is love. When we find a true love connection with someone, this is This is where we gather strength. And this is why when we find true love for ourselves, we can gather strength too. It doesn't only have to be love for someone else, but of course here we have a Two of Cups. And of course, that indicates a love connection with another person that is going to be very, very overflowing, balanced. Two of Cups talks about balanced love, very balanced. And very healthy, as opposed to these extremes. You know, the devil card doesn't always necessarily mean bad, because the devil card is the highest card for creative energy. But we're talking with the devil card, we're talking about creative energy that has been stifled, that has been stagnated, you know, that it's been not allowed to sort of flow. And so it is in those stages in our lives that we, of course, succumb to codependency, addiction. You know, we're a slave to instant gratification because we're not getting that ultimate life gratification from doing something fulfilling. Do you see what I mean? All right, let's pull out your beautiful animal spirit cards. This is a very, very nice reading for somebody who is really going to get their life sort of right where they want it to be. A Leo who's going to be get their life to be exactly the way they've always envisioned for themselves, and they're going to be coming out of a very, very, perhaps quite a long period of darkness into a period of light. There will still be some testing this year, but with that strong strength card and the Hanged Man being so awake, it's a really, really strong energy. And of course, you have another Seven of Wands there to let you know that throughout the year, you will have the solutions coming to you for these obstacles. This is going to be a year of blessing for you, Leo. And I'm going to say for some of you, it certainly will be that train, right? That train will have arrived for you. And it may have been a long time since the last one came along. Now, we're just going to pull out your one animal spirit to see what you're resonating with this year in terms of an energy that may be helping you through this. And you have the cheetah. Oh, my God. I'm so excited for you, Leo. Of course, the cheetah. Why? Because the cheetah is fire energy. And the cheetah almost seems to have the sun radiating from within. The cheetah is absolutely formidable and an achiever. Absolute achiever. The cheetah, it is his purpose and his determination that makes him bar none for achieving great tasks. When people see the cheetah, they're oftentimes in awe of what they've been able to achieve, right? This is masculine energy. This is forward driving masculine energy. And this is exactly the kind of energy I love. This very strong energy for you, Leo, this year. Especially for somebody who is coming out of a Hanged Man. You come out the stops, you know. What do they call it? You break out of the blocks, basically, this year. And it really is going to be quite nice for you. I'm going to say for some of you, you may indeed be artists, right? You may indeed be artists who have been in this stage of your life because you were not finding a good outlet for your art. And if that is the case, then you will indeed be finding an outlet for your art this year. You know, you may have just simply allowed yourself to kind of fall into the stage of life because you were uninspired, right? This year is going to be very different. Let's pull out your Sacred Rebel Oracle card, and then I'm going to call this a reading for 2020, Leo. Very nice indeed. Very strong, very positive energy. Very, very nice. I love that that cheetah came out for you. You know, rather than the rabbit. You know what I mean? The rabbit's very fearful. The cheetah does not stop. You will absolutely get what you intend to set out for. And you have heaven sent. Okay, so this is divine energy coming in. And of course, what did I say earlier about the Hierophant coming in to help you? Heaven sent talks about a spiritual blessing, my lovely Leo. And this year, there's a spiritual blessing that has come into your life. I'm going to say you meet someone perhaps who is, they have a certain sense of spirituality or a certain belief system. It doesn't matter what it is, you know, whatever it is. It could be a Christian or a Jewish person. It could be somebody who's a Hindu or somebody who's a Buddhist. It doesn't matter. Or somebody who's just into healing and Reiki energy. Whatever the case may be, but it's somebody you're going to meet who's a very highly spiritual individual. They're going to show you a way, I think, for some of you. Because of this love connection, you may indeed fall in love with this person. They may come into your life as sort of a spiritual beacon or spiritual blessing. blessing at first, and then this great love connection comes in. Or it could just indeed be, my beautiful Leo, that you have a spiritual awakening. In any case, Heaven Sent talks about a spiritual blessing that comes into your life and gives you the strength to achieve the unachievable, almost the things that you thought you couldn't achieve before. The strength that you get from this, you know, the new avenue in your life, everything is beautiful, right? You understand you have the drive now to accomplish your task, right? And you know you can do it. The confidence is there because you are inspired. And what inspires you now, the spiritual blessing that has come in for you has inspired you so much that you just never would choose to go back to this stage again. You know, this is what I mean by a spiritual blessing coming in. And that's why I said earlier, for some of you this year, and especially beginning in December, of course, already, one of the blessings you will be getting is a blessing of spirituality coming in your life, healing, wisdom. Very nice, Leo. I hope you enjoyed this reading. I'm going to call it. Please like, subscribe, and share. Don't forget to leave me a comment below. And don't forget to hit the bell, because if you hit the bell, oftentimes you can choose how you want to be notified. You can choose if you just want to be notified on my Leo readings, or if you want to be notified on all my readings. Whatever the case may be, you can really tailor it to you. But I urge you to hit the bell because I do premiere all my videos. And so that way, whatever video you're interested in, you can know when it's premiering, and you can come along and chat and ask questions and all of that. But for right now, Leo, I really love this reading because this is a reading of healing that is coming into somebody's life who I know has really struggled for quite some time, and I could not be any happier for you. All right, guys, have a wonderful rest of 2019, and I shall see you in 2020. Bye-bye.